Welcome to the Dr. Raj Podcast with Dr. Raj Dasgupta, a show all about educating patients, students, and aspiring doctors about better patient care. Dr. Raj is a quadruple board-certified physician and associate professor at the University of Southern California. He was a co-host of the TNT series Chasing the Cure with Ann Curry, as well as a regular on the TV show The Doctors. And now, here's our show.
Welcome to the Dr. Raj Show. And so, as always, I really wish you guys and gals out there could see what I see. It's a Friday, and I'm having a wonderful conversation with a really, really special person who I'm very, very excited to be on the Dr. Raj Show. This is going to be Heather Lange. And I really wish I could, there was more oomph just with saying the name, because it doesn't really let me tell you how awesome and cool she is in person. But as of all my guests, I definitely want to give a little background. So Heather right now, you won't see this. She looks really cool with some sunglasses. She's in her car, and she's actually doing this talk from Kentucky. And Kentucky is her home state. She went to the University of Kentucky, where she actually got a bachelor's in nursing. So maybe we'll get asked some nursing questions. And she is a go-getter. She got her master's from the University of Louisville. And she's currently a nurse practitioner in urogynecology. So very, very intimidating and very impressive. I love it. But I think why I have her on the show today is, you know, one of the most amazing things is that she's a mom of 3 kids. And these kids range from ages 15, 7, down to 2 years of age, or 5 years. Am I right? Which one is it, Heather?
2.
Oh, man. So, and I do want to actually spend the most time talking about, they're all special, but her middle kid, which is Hedley Joe. And I'm not going to steal anything away from this, but let me just say, Heather, thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. This is so exciting for me. It's so great to see your face again from all the way across the country, but yet, you know, every time I see you, it's such a treat. So, you know, sending lots of love from Kentucky.
And you know what? Like I said, I almost want to make this a video session in the sense that you have this beautiful smile. You're so positive. I mean, it's almost like we were brother and sister from a different time. You know what I mean?
Yes. I feel the same way for sure. It is. It's just great. I count down the days when I can get back out to LA to see you guys. So it's really cool.
So let's get started by me jumping in the time machine and asking you just kind of about, you know, what kind of led you down the pathway of nursing in general? Because, you know, I'll be the first to say nurses are the front lines of defense. They do so much for us. What motivated you to go to the University of Kentucky and pursue nursing as your major?
I just sort of decided, I kind of knew as I probably through high school that I really wanted to help people. And as I had to start really making some decisions about colleges and you know, what you want to major in, I really kind of thought long and hard that, you know, I think I could do nursing. That would be a good fit for me. I really wanted to help people in ways that they couldn't necessarily help themselves. And what a great way through nursing that there's so many options with, you know, whether the clinic side, the research side, the education side, you know, I would have a lot of options and potentially a lot of autonomy. So I just kept going, and here I am.
So, I mean, you took it up a notch, and I have many friends that, you know, went for the nurse practitioner. That means you don't need me anymore. I mean, you guys have all the autonomy nowadays. So what made you take that next step? Because it's more education. I assume you had kids at the time. What motivated you to keep going on to becoming a nurse practitioner?
You know, I started out as a labor and delivery nurse. I worked 7P to 7A night shifts, and it's a lot of hours, a lot of being on call. And I just decided that I wanted more responsibility. There were more things I wanted to see, more things I wanted to do, and I needed some better hours for my family life because I was pregnant with my first daughter in my last year of graduate school, and
Wow.
you know, night shift and the being on call and missing out on holidays and weekends is really hard on family life. So I wanted to do more, and it just seemed like that was going to be a great opportunity and a good fit for me where I was in my life.
So let me ask you, I mean, I am very familiar with baby delivering because I have 3 of my own. And, you know, in the room, I mean, nothing is more special than having the nurse that takes care of your wife. And you guys do such an awesome job at it. How was it very emotional for you in the beginning? I mean, I just know from my med school rotations, I was always crying because there's so much happiness, and then you're sad and worried, and mom's not doing well, but the baby's not doing well. What was your experience being a labor and delivery nurse?
I loved being a labor and delivery nurse. As a matter of fact, I miss some of that because there's a bond that you establish with these patients because you're with them and you're with them the whole way. And this is, for some, one of their, biggest days of their lives. It's full of excitement and just pure joy. And you get to experience that and witness that and hold their hand along the way, make sure they're safe, the baby's safe, and so forth. But, not all deliveries end happy. And there's those patients too that I connected with to help those ladies cope with a loss and how to move forward. And, I just felt like there was, I really benefited a lot emotionally, and I guess with the whole process, I really it made me a better nurse.
So would I be putting you on the spot? Because I'll admit it. I mean, during my OB-GYN rotation back in med school, I was tearing up all the time in that labor and delivery room. Did you have a couple of emotional moments? You ever caught yourself tearing up a little bit in the background?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
Okay.
Absolutely. All the time. Because that is such a gift for some people, or most people, with, having their first baby, especially just that whole newness and excitement. And it's just pure joy.
So now you're not in the labor and delivery room. Now you have your white coat, I assume, like a nice long white coat, and you're in the office. So you really do miss being on call at nighttime and, in the trenches right there. Is that what you need? You miss a little bit?
Yeah. I do miss. I miss the labor and delivery world, but now I have more. I work part-time, and I have more of a autonomous position where I'm managing care for women and with their urogynecology needs. So, pelvic organ prolapse, urinary incontinence, chronic pelvic pain, recurrent infections. So I've, just kind of transitioned to more, different nursing.
So let me ask you this, because, the Dr. Raj show is for everyone. And I have a lot of awesome followers that are nurses, and some of my best friends are nurses. In a broad strokes answer, do you recommend maybe pursuing the next level for their education and going on to be a nurse practitioner? Is that something you encourage, or do you say, hey, if you really want to be in the trenches, don't go that route? What's your advice for everyone?
My advice is to do what makes you happiest. You have to do you and decide for yourself. Do you want to go on and do other things, or are you content with what you're doing? Obviously, I'm an advocate for education because I think the more the education, the more prepared you are. Knowledge is power.
Yep. I'm going to be a little selfish and say that, I have these awesome critical care nurses in my ICU. I just worked with them today before our interview, and they're all going to leave me. They all want to be nurse practitioners now. I'm a little upset about that.
I understand, because you develop some of your work friends or your family friends. Your work is your family too, and you develop these relationships with people that are hard to come by. So it's hard to see people transition.
And speaking of family, me and you, we met each other through a mutual friend. I thought maybe you might want to give a shout out. So for the listening world, one of my passions is book writing. I have a book series, and one of the book volumes is OB-GYN, Morning Report Beyond the Pearls. The volume editor is an amazing doctor who I immensely respect. Her name is Dr. Kate Merriweather, who you used to be employed with together, and that's how we met each other. So do you want to give Kate a shout out, and you want to say, was Kate good to work for?
Dr. Merriweather is such a gift, and she was such a gift when she came to University of Louisville, not knowing anyone, engaged to her awesome husband, Stephen, who I still to this day think he should have gone and made some friends down at Churchill Downs. I think he would have made an excellent jockey. But anyway, I miss Kate dearly. She certainly was a true gift to our office and our practice, and came to me in a time in my life where, I really needed her, and we worked so well together. I miss her dearly. So.
All right.
Yeah.
I already put in the back of my mind, my checklist, make sure to acknowledge Kate Merriweather, who's just an amazing person. So good. So, I got you here. I know it's such a beautiful day, but I do want to raise awareness about something that you and I are both passionate about, and it's epilepsy,
Yes.
And I really want to talk about this, and no one knows where this conversation is going, but you have a very, very, all your three daughters are special, but you have a very special story in regards to your middle daughter, Hadley Jo. And I'm not going to start off the conversation. I want you to tell it. Can you tell the listeners what happened to Hadley Jo when she was very young, and how did this led to your passion about epilepsy?
Absolutely. I go back to that day, thinking back on that day back in July. It was a summer hot day, and we were with some friends having dinner at McAllister's Deli, and my whole world flipped upside down that day in ways that I never saw coming. My daughter was 16 months old at the time and started having a seizure on my lap. She started twitching, and I was in total shock. We do not have family history or, anyone in the family with seizures or epilepsy. So it was quite a shock for all of us. And I had this, limp baby, with her eyes rolled in the back of her head, not breathing. And as a parent, I cannot explain the feelings of being overwhelmed and desperate for help, because all I could do was to pray that, please God, don't take my baby.
And were you a nurse at the time or no?
A nurse practitioner,
You were a nurse practitioner. So
yep. You wouldn't have known I was medical that day. All that goes out the window. You're kind of in mom mode at that point that, I've got to save my baby. And
I agree. And what did you do? So you're in the restaurant, your baby's in your hand. Was it yell 911, or did you know what was going on, or can you kind of,
I luckily
some of those moments?
Right. Well, I felt like I knew I could get to the hospital faster than waiting on an ambulance. And luckily, my pediatrician answered the call and talked me through sternal chest rubs and breath blows. And my friend who we were with, we all piled in the car, and I sat in the back doing breath blows and sternal chest rubs on the way to the emergency room. Where we later found out that my daughter was having a seizure, a febrile seizure. And that's where all of her epilepsy started from that day forward. So here we are several years later, and, we have I like to call it a family diagnosis.
So let me ask you this, epilepsy, seizures. I always tell my med students, there's few things you see in the hospital that will for always change your life. Things like first time someone is hypoglycemic, first time someone passes away, or seeing a seizure. You're never prepared. And no matter what you know, and like you said, what you read or what title you have, especially if it's a loved one. So I'm sure you are very familiar with many different neurologists, and not to be too personal, but is these seizures easy to control? Is it one medication? Is it any medications? How are we right now controlling these seizures? And do we know what triggers them, if I'm using that word correctly?
Yeah. Seizures are very scary, and I agree with you. When you see a seizure, it's a memory you can't ever forget, and you cannot erase from your brain. And I still carry around to this day. My oldest daughter was there and saw me fall apart in ways that I cannot erase from her brain, and I can't take back. But we have to move forward, and it has been a struggle. Kids are constantly growing and changing and needing different dosages. And, it's a very unique disease, yet there's no cure. And it's very scary. So we've been down the road of different medications, trying to figure out what works. And then I realized that it's not always about conventional medication that can give your child the best help and the best medical management. So Hadley Joe was 2 years old when a stranger's service dog responded to her seizures and alerted us.
What? Wait, where did this happen? So
Yes.
where was this service dog? How did that get into the picture? Were you somewhere outdoor or at a friend's house, or what happened?
We were at our sitters, and my sitter's son was in town visiting, and he has a seizure alert service dog, and it was a big old German Shepherd dog. She's huge, and she was very intimidating, and she scared Hadley because she kept circling around her body, and she was biting her shirt, trying to get her on the ground, and yelping, and just kind of crying, whining, looking anxious. And sure enough, a few moments later, Hadley Joe had a seizure.
Wow.
So at that
let me
point,
ask you this, Heather. Sorry for interrupting. So everyone will know. I mean, I don't even know the answer to this. So is Hadley Joe's seizure is what we call a generalized seizure where she loses consciousness, or is it a partial seizure where she's aware of what's going on? How would you categorize them?
Well, as you know, there's 40 different types of seizures, and Hadley Joe suffers from 3 of those types of seizures. She suffers from febrile seizures, tonic-clonic seizures, and complex partial seizures. Her most common seizures are the complex partial seizures. She has lots of confusion, disorientation. She'll say she's scared. She'll say her eyes hurt, her brain hurts. She's scared. She wants her mommy. She needs to lay down. As she's gotten older, she's able to identify with self-awareness, how she's feeling. Whereas when she was 2 and 3, she couldn't. So that's why when I saw this happen before my eyes with the service dog, I wanted to take that service dog home with me, but I knew that I couldn't. That wouldn't be very nice.
That wouldn't be nice.
No. So I realized I had some research to do, and I really felt like that was God's plan for me. He gave us this incurable disease to do something with it. And let's see what we can do with it, something positive. Let's see something positive come out. Let's move forward together.
So how old was Hadley Joe when this story took place with the German Shepherd, where she had
She was 2. She was 2. She was 2. She was little.
So what exactly did the German Shepherd do? Did he kind of position himself underneath Hadley Joe? Did she fall down, or what did the German Shepherd do?
Looking back on that time, the dog just acted like something was wrong. Was whimpering and like circling around her, trying to get her on the ground.
Oh, wow.
And it just, it scared her. So, German Shepherds are big, and when you're 2 and, you've got this 100+ pound dog, circling around, that's overwhelming. So I just feel like that day was another day that was just sort of meant to be, to sort of open my eyes that, hey, help is out there. There is more help out there. There are more options out there, and they're not always conventional medicine, and it's okay.
And this is a great segue, because when I'm going to have your website so people can see all the things that we're talking about. But Hadley Joe, I got to say, is one of the cutest daughters in the whole world. And I want you to let everyone know about Ariel.
Yes.
Now, Ariel is actually the name of this beautiful dog also. So how did the story about seeing the German Shepherd, how did that motivate you to get Ariel? And tell me about the first meeting with Ariel and all those things. I want to hear it.
Well, my research began because I knew I couldn't take that person's service dog home with me. So I needed to find, a reputable organization that could give me a service dog, because you hear about all of the, fakes and people get ripped off all the time, and, are out thousands of dollars because they don't get, legit service dogs. So I was so afraid. And so I just kept researching, and actually we ended up finding Ultimate Canine through our deacon at our church. He's a retired Secret Service, and he had some friends with the LMPD canine department, and then they suggested that we reach out to Ultimate Canine, where they get their canine dogs trained.
Oh, wow.
And so I reached out to this company. They're outside of Indianapolis, and not too far away from us, a couple hours. And we went and did an open house. We did interviews, and just something clicked. Something felt right, and it's a really cool process. They breed their own dogs, and then they match your dog to their puppies. Very young. Once those puppies go through their evaluations and are scored and score high enough to be service line dogs. And then they train them 24 hours, and they go through extensive training, and then they transition your service dog home to you when they graduate. Ariel graduated when she was 7 months old, and Ultimate Canine came and lived with us for about a week to transition us, to teach us how to be a certified dog handler.
So let me ask you this. So we're calling them service dogs. So are these dogs were trained in the medical sense, where the service is such a broad word? So service could be helping us in the terms of a police dog or a fire dog. So was Ariel trained to spot out epilepsy? Am I making this up? Or how do we train her to do what she does now,
That's everybody's question, and it is. It's a question. How does Ariel do what she does? Because you cannot safely induce a seizure. You can't medically induce a seizure. So this company believes that once they identify these dogs that are born with that gift per se to be a service dog, and we're not talking about therapy dogs, we're not talking about companion dogs, we are talking about service dogs that are born with this gift per se. We're also talking about a dog that has tendencies to gravitate toward children. So Ariel had some criteria to meet once she was matched with Hadley Joe. And what happens is, over time, usually about a year's time, these dogs develop a bond with their child. In our case, Hadley Joe. Ariel bonded with Hadley Joe within about a year, in a relationship that she doesn't have with anyone else in the family or anyone else anywhere. And then that bond is so strong that she's able to identify when something is wrong with Hadley. Wow. And we're not quite sure if that's, a sense, some sort of chemical reaction that, we're just not really sure. We don't have all the answers. But we know that something has worked, because our service dog saves our daughter's life.
Oh,
Ariel, I know.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. I know my listeners are like, wait a minute, Raj, ask a question. So I'm sure everyone wants to know a couple of things. Yes, I'll put pictures up of Ariel on the website so you can see what the dog looks like. Can you describe the breed and describe the dog so everyone can kind of picture, and how big in weight? Can describe wonderful Ariel to everyone.
So Ariel is a Labradoodle. Ultimate Canine convinced me that a Labradoodle is an ideal service dog for a child, because most children have special needs, and therefore lots of allergies and, just different needs. And so you really need a dog that's really smart, a dog that's hypoallergenic, and a dog that's easy to train, very trainable. So they believe in the Labradoodles, that they've gotten the best success with their kids with Labradoodles. They also do Labs and German Shepherds, but for children, she explained to me that if I, matched with a German Shepherd and I went to a playground with our German Shepherd, no kid would come play with Hadley Joe. I didn't want that.
That's true. That's true.
So she is 4 years old. She is a chocolate Labradoodle. She's nice and soft and fluffy. She's about 50 pounds. She's a small standard Labradoodle. And she and her brother were the only two puppies from her litter that scored high enough scores to be service dogs.
Wow. And did gender play a part of picking Ariel, or just so happened that she was a woman? Or
I don't really know about the studies, but I just felt like with Hadley Joe being a female would be a better fit for her. But we certainly were not against if we were matched to a male. You can put your request in, and then, as the process evolves, they do their best. So that's kind of how it just all worked out.
Well, let me say this. I want to hear a couple of stories about some amazing stories. But, I'm a huge dog person. And the first thing I loved about Ariel is that my first dog, his name was Choco. He was a Cocker Spaniel and had the exact same chocolate brown coat as Ariel. So well chosen on the color. And the other thing is that my dog right now is a golden doodle. His name is Clifford. And he's not as obedient, and he doesn't listen to me that well. So if you're in the mood of training another dog, I could give you Clifford for free if you're in the mood.
Well, remember, I didn't train this dog.
That's true.
Dog came to us trained. So, but I'm happy to give you any of my advice that I do have. I just don't know that you want my advice.
Well, I want to make sure I ask a couple things, which is there one story in particular when we talk about, Hadley Joe and Ariel that just jumps to mind, like your go-to story? I mean, you are such a big advocate of this. You're on CNN. I saw something on CNN, you're everywhere.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
It was. It's really cool. So one thing that comes to mind was at the end of the school year, we're in this pandemic and things are crazy. And we went to school to pick up our yearbook. They had this little parade thing, drive-through parade. You could, wave goodbye to your teachers and pick up your yearbook on the way out of the parking lot. And, we opened up our yearbook and we had this nice little surprise where our daughter was featured with her service dog in the kindergarten class. And that just touches me in ways that I can't explain to people, because, what a special surprise for us, and what an inclusive moment. It's like a sense of family. Like, the school chose to be kind and inclusive, and I thought that sent a great message for other schools all over the world that, hey, not everybody looks the same, not everybody learns the same, and that's okay. Here we are, and if we can do this in Kentucky, other schools can do this all over the world.
No, I agree. And I want to make sure I spend a little time on this, which is, you have a website. And I think what really touches me, the fact that, I love the fact of who you are. I love that you're an awesome nurse practitioner. I love you do labor and delivery. But, being an advocate for something that I feel is service dogs for children with epilepsy. Epilepsy, like we talked about earlier, just always makes me tear up no matter what age you are. When it's kids, it stings that much more. And if there are things that we could do without using medications, because these meds, you need them sometimes, but they have so many side effects. And you created a website, and you're an advocate of raising awareness of service dogs so kids with epilepsy can use them. Am I saying it correctly? And you want to give me a little more information about this?
Yeah. So like I said before, Ariel saves Hadley Joe's life. She goes everywhere with her. She sleeps in her room with her. She goes to school with her. She rides the bus with her. She's on stage at the dance recital. She goes to soccer, field hockey. She, anywhere Hadley Joe goes, Ariel is right there beside her. And, she's my eyes and ears when I'm not there. Ariel is a way for Hadley Joe to live an independent life. I think we all want that for our kids, to grow up and live independently and function as independently as possible. And, I really feel like Ariel allows Hadley Joe to do that. That's very comforting to me as a mom.
Yeah. And tell everyone about the website. We're going to put it on there. Is that website still functioning? And is the main part of the website to
so the cool thing about all this is back to, I want to see, good things come from our story. I felt like I needed to do more. And so we partnered with the Epilepsy Foundation of Kentuckiana. And we have our own nonprofit project called the Hope for Hadley Joe Project. and we are funding service dogs for other children with epilepsy in Kentucky. And that's kind of what the website is all about, to share our story and show people that you're not alone and there are people out there. I went through a really difficult time as a mom of just feeling so alone and so desperate for answers and desperate for someone to help me. And how was I going to raise all these thousands of dollars that I had to make installments to get this service dog, because insurance doesn't always cover service dogs for families. Right. And that's a big problem. And service dogs can cost families anywhere from $10,000 to $60,000.
Wait, did you say $60,000?
Yes.
Oh my
expensive.
God. I didn't know that. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So I just, I didn't want anybody to feel like I felt. And if there was something that I could do along the way to help other families, then sign me up. So we have the nonprofit, and it's slow. We don't have any corporate donors, but every dollar helps. And we're hoping to have our enough money set aside soon to grant a family, at least with a nice down payment for their service dog.
Well, you know what? There's certain websites or certain nonprofits that when you just hear the story behind it, it just makes you feel good that you want to be part of it. And that's why I love your story. I'm like, when I thought of the Dr. Raj podcast, you are what I represent, which is just hardworking people with a good cause. You know what I mean? And what's the selling point? If everyone could just see what your daughter looks like. And I just want everyone to know that I met Heather, and she brought her daughter to meet my daughter, and we met at Panera Bread, I remember. And those my daughter and your daughter hit it off. They were running around a little too much. But it was just amazing, And one thing I wanted to ask you is that, first off, I'm going to do everything I can to raise awareness to your website and your nonprofit. And anyone who loves what Dr. Raj represents, you will love what Heather represents and the Hadley Joe Foundation represents. You gave me a really cool bow tie. I'm not really a bow tie type of guy. So people who know me are like, what are you talking about? It was like a purple bow tie with dogs on it. Are you starting a clothing line? What's going on here? Why the bow ties? Tell me about that.
No, I met someone from bowtie.com, and they loved our story and offered to make us a bow tie and represent epilepsy awareness. So it's purple representing epilepsy, and the little dogs represent Ariel. And it's really cool, and they're really neat. So 100% of the proceeds from those bow tie sales are going to the nonprofit project to fund service dogs for other children with epilepsy.
Now, if anyone who's listening wants to get one of these bow ties, do they still exist? Can they go to the website and can they click on a link or something, get these pretty cool bow ties?
Yes. There's that's all on the website, so we'll share that with you for sure.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to tell you, when we put our pictures up for the web for this podcast, I might be wearing the bow tie on that to show it off a little bit,
Love it.
But
you look good purple.
Well, you know what? I know that because you're such a great mom. I know that you took time off. Your eldest daughter is having a football game today or softball? Field hockey. Oh my God. Yep. So I do want to say thank you for spending time on the Dr. Raj show. And I know you're always multitasking like I am. So that's why I'm always so happy to spend time with you.
Well, the pleasure is mine. This is such a treat for me. And I've been looking forward to this all day. It's always great to see you smiling. My brother out in California that I miss dearly. I wish we could see each other more often. So this is a huge treat for me today.
Awesome. And, last but not least, Heather, I'm sure we're going to get great reviews about this interview because you're such a dynamic personality. If I need you to come back on again, can I count on you to be on the Dr. Raj show again? Maybe next time with your daughter, with Hadley Joe?
Well, absolutely. Of course.
All right. I'm going to take your word on that. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's interview. Heather, take care, and we'll be talking soon, okay?
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening. This has been a production of Ars Longa Media. The producers for this show are Christopher Breitigan and Madison Linden. The executive producer is Dr. Patrick Beeman. This podcast is for educational purposes only and not intended for medical advice. Ars longa, vita brevis.